The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Here with Chuck Lazenby, Executive Director from Unity Project. And Chuck, the Food Bank and Unity Project have worked off and on together over the years, which has been really great. But I do remember, because I've been around it for a while and I know I look at, but back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001, I remember a number of students and others coming together, and it was kind of a protest. This was long before Occupy, which is over a decade later, whatever it is. But they were talking about homelessness and other things and trying to draw attention to it. And I know that Unity Project emerged from that movement. And I'm sure a lot of people know that. So could you just describe, because I think you were there, right? So that's right. So maybe you can describe a bit of that to us, because I find it very interesting.
Yeah, so in the summer of 2001, a group of activists, so we actually had called ourselves the Action Family, a group of young folks primarily who kind of got together after the or kind of maybe just prior to the Quebec City protests in April of that year, to, basically try to address social injustice in our own community. So we took the energy kind of that came from those protests, brought it back to our own community. We did a number of different events and things in the community. But I think the biggest one was that we occupied a city park to bring attention to homelessness, specifically because the Canada Summer Games were coming here in the summer of 2001. And one of the things that concerned us was that there was this beautification of London. There was this cleanup of London, to present, a city with no problems, really, is kind of what we saw. And we wanted to make sure that people were aware, that we have an issue with poverty and homelessness in our community. And so we took over a city park to create a tent city. And at the time it wasn't like we knew how that would kind of pan out, but certainly within just a couple of days, a lot of individuals experiencing homelessness joined us in the park. And we started to really develop, kind of what our purpose was and what we were doing there and what we wanted from it. I think that a lot of demonstrations of this kind of fashion, you typically think, it's going to end in a couple of days, or you're going to get pulled out of there by police or something like that. And, have to move on to different sorts of actions about the issue. But I think that what really hit home for us is, we all had homes. We could actually leave the protest at the end of the day if we wanted to and head home. And the folks who were experiencing homelessness didn't have that option. And we started hearing a lot about, how the system was, in terms of the shelter system or the supports that were available in London, and people wanted something different. People wanted a change. And so we dug our heels in and, worked towards creating something different.
Yeah, now I was around then and I remember that, and I've been part of protest movements myself, and not because I'm pretty old, I've been involved in those in a long time, but I think it's often there's the white heat of the moment that comes and people get involved, and then it kind of fades away as policy or other things don't change. You guys didn't do that. I mean, I think you pulled together, you started the Unity Project, but then pretty soon afterwards, if I remember correctly, the city came forward realizing that the things that you were saying were valid. It's also true that across the country in municipalities, homelessness was really beginning to emerge as a problem, right? That wasn't being dealt with. But it seems to me that whatever you did back then was highly successful, because you did get the city and others to set up. And then I think you got some funding from and others from the city. Is that kind of how you really got going? Was it that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we had, the great privilege of a lot of support from the community. right? Who also wanted to see change. There was a lot of things happening at that time. There was new federal dollars for that were being offered to municipalities to address homelessness. Communities were starting to come up with, community plans and trying to work together and strategize. And I think that had not been absent, but certainly siloed a lot more before that time. And so our timing happened to also be very good, that people were wanting that change or some changes to happen. And so we got a lot of support. And I think that, through that community support and through our advocacy, we were able to, demonstrate that we should be supported to try this kind of new model, and which was a more participatory style model of a shelter, one that was trying to reduce some of the barriers that people were, finding from accessing other shelters. And it was, 2 years later that we received a city grant to be able to purchase property on Dundas Street. And that's really when I think Unity Project, as we kind of know it a little more today, started to form.
So I know a number of folks on your board, for instance, and they have talked to me repeatedly about how your board really works. It's probably not just the board, I'm sure, but really works on a consensus model. That if if you're moving forward an initiative, but there are some that struggle with that or whatever it is, you're willing to wait that out in order to try to find consensus. Do I have that right?
You do. And we use that at our staff meetings as well. And I think that, what's important to understand about consensus is that you come together with shared values, right? You need folks who have some shared values in order to come together and make decisions under a consensus model. And for us, that does mean that on occasion there are some long debates or, but that's also okay, right? That we engage in that manner. Yep.
I'm interested in that because that's how the Food Bank Board works as well. It's not how often politics and some other things work, but it's wonderful you can do that. But you also say you're a peer-supported organization in what you're doing. Can you just go into that a bit?
Yeah. So really, I think that one of the things in the pandemic, which I'm sure we'll touch on later, that's really impacted us is we've lost a lot of the opportunity to be a participatory, peer-supported model. So in our location that we've been in for many, many years prior to the pandemic, it was a community living situation where everybody, and I think in some part due to the very tiny size of the building, there was no choice but to engage, with each other. And that our model really relied on participants, being engaged into the day-to-day operations, having to participate in things like conflict resolution and figuring out, strategizing how to live in the same space. So that is certainly something that's followed along with us ever since Tent City.
Yeah. So let's fast track a couple of decades. That was in 2001. I think you just had your 20th anniversary in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I realized that there's a lot going on there that has changed over the course of that 20 years. But now we're into this thing in which it seems to me that homelessness has become a national blight. Like, it's not just about, we got some, people on the margins in our community. I think every city across the country is now realizing these things are at a significant scale of what is happening. And then I think when COVID came, and I'm sure you felt this as well, a lot of people began looking at it as though, look, we need to be a community. We need to build back better. All of those languages that were used, but they were looking at the homeless and thought the folks that are homeless need to be a part of whatever this recovery piece is going to be. But at the same time, we go through things like winter as we're going through now. And, there's this concentration on, we've got to help emergency situations right now, which is what's happening. The food bank's involved in that. You're involved in that, many others. But we can take our eye off the ball, I wonder, sometimes when we do that. This is the second year now in a row where we're into winter responses to try to help homeless people. And it really becomes a focus. It's very interesting in the media. People want to give and want to help. But really the long game that we need to be looking for and the groups that we need to be helping with that. It seems to me we run the danger of forgetting that. That's really what it's about, that we kind of think, well, once COVID's over, we'll be okay. But it seems to me we're not going to be. It seems to me that the homeless situation will continue on long after this recovery has taken place. And my sense from Unity Project and from what I've known about you, Chuck, because we've talked before, is I really think it is the long game that you're interested in. You'll adapt to the emergency the best way you can, but really it is the long game and trying to change not only how the community sees homeless individuals, but also how it responds to them. Do I have that right?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that, it's complicated in some ways. And I think that one of the things that we've missed over time is you have to invest significantly in both components.
Yeah.
And there's a really, there's an unwillingness to do that because it's very expensive, right? We need to take care of the crisis that is happening now. We need to make sure that people are well supported, that people are not, staying outside, that people have access to the supports and resources they need to, respond to the crisis that they're experiencing. But we also need such a significant investment in foundational things such as income support. I mean, I think that is one of the biggest, signs of how people experiencing poverty and homelessness are viewed, given that during the pandemic, ever so quickly, it was decided $2,000 is what people need to meet their basic needs and survive economically in the pandemic. And this is not like a luxury amount. This was not something people were getting to go on vacations and buy cars and things, this was survival. Yeah. And we have never looked at people experiencing poverty and homelessness and said, you need what it takes in order to survive in a basic way from an income perspective. Mm-hmm. And so what does that really say about, how we value those individuals who are experiencing that crisis? Mm-hmm. That's just become very stark. If you're on OW, you're getting, less than $800 a month if you happen to be able to find a place that you can pay for rent that is $400 or less. Yeah. Ludicrous. We can't do that in this housing market, right? Yeah. So that's the problem. If we don't invest in those foundational solutions, we will always be responding to the crisis. And right now at the stage that we're in, things are not good. No. Things are very bad in our community and many municipalities. Pandemic has made that worse. The rental market has made that worse. And so we need that significant investment in both strategies. Yeah.
It seems to me like things like vacancy rates, high rents, right? I've known a number of families that have had to leave the rental situation because of high rents. I get that. And then there's also social assistance. We keep coming back to that, but it really is fundamental as a policy that these social assistance rates are kept at the level where these all the different disciplines across where social services are involved have enough resources to be able to make it work. But in a wild housing market like we're in at the moment, right, and all these other things, it seems so many things are popping up that makes it difficult to deal with the homeless situation because we're looking at it exclusively by itself as opposed to linked to all of these other things. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what is just very clear is that we've experienced a lot of systemic neglect when it comes to, an actual social safety net that people can rely on. And that neglect has, resulted in where we're at now. I mean, every single part of our systems needs to consider poverty and homelessness, as a part of the plans when it comes to whether it's the justice system or the health system, the housing market. I mean, we need to actually strategize on how do we ensure that people who are experiencing poverty and homelessness can access all those different pieces. Yeah. And we have not done that so far.
No, that's right. That's how food banks emerge, right? They're not the answer, but they emerge because we're not coming to an answer. We're not getting there. And people just do what they can. We're talking a bit about context here, but can we talk a bit about the Unity Project? Like how many people do you help? What are your facilities like? What are your goals for those folks as you're ministering to them?
Well, yeah. So there's a lot wrapped up in that right now, because are we talking pre-pandemic? Are we talking during the pandemic? Are we talking our future? Right. So I think there's a whole bunch of pieces. And what's interesting is, we were displaced from our home and our program during the pandemic, and put into a hotel. So that shifted things a little bit for us. But I think what I can say overall, and regardless of where we are or what our physical location looks like, is we're committed to working with people to see them achieve stability once they leave our doors. And really a lot of that has to do with partnering with community agencies, right? So we don't do this work alone. No one does. We do that in partnership with every service that might exist out there, to be able to anchor those supports into the individuals while they're in our program. So when we do have the opportunity for them to move out into the community, into their own place, that those supports follow them to that place. Mm-hmm.
You also have interesting language around it that I've been through your website and other things, but you talk about like this direct or more rapid path between someone who is homeless and being able to get into a place that's secure with supports. But can you just go over with me about what you mean by that? What is this rapid path that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think rapid is not necessarily, we want it to be rapid, and that's the goal we're working towards, but maybe not the only qualifier for, what we're looking at. But basically we follow best practices of housing first, which, is evidence-based best practice about working with people who, don't have homes, to say, we're not going to expect you to resolve all of your issues before you actually can access housing. That it talks about ensuring that housing is the foundation for people to actually work on, whatever other issues they're struggling with. And that's the goal with folks. It's not about abstinence. It's not about getting, their medications all sorted out first, that we do those pieces along the way, and that people are attached to the supports that they need at the level that they need them in order to obtain and maintain that housing. And it's a really incredible way to do the work. It's changed things a lot in terms of the system for London, because we're all focused on that. And what that kind of system or that foundation allows us to do is, we know that an individual walking through our door, for the most part, we are going to be able to figure out a way to resolve homelessness for that person and to help them get connected in the community, be supported. The thing it doesn't do is prevent people from experiencing homelessness in the first place. And so what we have to contend with is this bottleneck effect, where when you don't change those foundational pieces to ensure that people can avoid homelessness in the first place, there's just so many people coming in our door that it's creating, that backlog. So I think that's why I've really come to see that both those strategies are just so necessary.
And also in the conversations that go on around homelessness, there's the subject of high threshold, low threshold, right? That people talk about that. I think for people that are viewing this, it might be helpful if you could explain that. And then how does Unity Project fit within that? Do you kind of do both? Do you just do one? How does that work?
Yeah, so the term we actually use is acuity, so high acuity or low acuity typically. And basically there's an assessment that is done kind of across the community to help determine like what level of support might an individual need. And then prioritizing the connections to the various services that can, accommodate that level of support. Now, for us, we provide service to people throughout the spectrum, people who have very high needs or complex needs, or, need a lot of kind of resources dedicated towards them, and folks who have, who don't need as many resources. So we really do see the spectrum of the experience of homelessness, in our services. But I do think that one of the things that's really important to understand is, as communities, we've been told, like, here's the best practices. You prioritize who gets what, and they get directed to the service that would best suit their needs. And that's really great. We want to continue to do that. But one of the things is that we don't have enough services for all the needs that are out there.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, I think, for people to understand that we are doing our jobs better. We are coordinating services between each other. We are prioritizing people based on their needs. But what we're hitting is the fact that we still don't have enough resources to meet those needs for everybody who, calls in.
Yeah. One of the things I appreciate about Unity Project, because I think, you've been around a fair while, you know your way around as an organization, is quite often people stop at the shelter, the kind of temporary shelter, say, okay, we got to get these people off the streets or whatever it is. So let's find a place for them. Even beyond just the winter season, there's people who see homelessness as that. Unity Project, every time I've spoken to you and others, and along with some of your board members, it's all about, no, that's the beginning. Right. What we have to do is move as expeditiously as we can with supports to get that person into a housing situation, into a secure situation. It seems to me your eye is always on the ball about that. So when discussions come up and others want to talk about how are we going to get these people and get them into a place, you're usually saying, what kind of place? Is it sufficient to give them the needs? I presume you drive a lot of that through your own conversations, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, this speaks to when we look at how the system is failing and neglecting to respond to this issue adequately, is that we need a multitude of housing options available for people. Right. And certainly with the level of income that people receive, and even with rent subsidies and topping up people's rent, the choices are few and far between. And I think that, people need to feel comfortable where they're moving to. People feel like they're not being forced to move to a space that, that they don't want to be. But our options are limited, and that just becomes really difficult. Right. But I think, for us, it really is always about shelter is temporary. It's an emergency response. It's not a permanent response. And we don't want to see people stay any longer than they have to. And we would move as fast as we could to work with people to get them housed if that was actually available, and in other years, it's been a lot, I think, easier because the reality for us is a lot of the people we see, their sole barrier is income.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of the people in the world that use drugs in what might be considered a problematic way, they're housed. Most of the people in the world who have mental health issues that they're struggling with, they're housed.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't the reasons why people stay homeless or become homeless. It's all the structures around that, all those supports around that. And so I think that is the kind of, commentary around homelessness that we really want people to understand, is like, if we gave people enough to pay the rent and buy their basic needs, we wouldn't need as much infrastructure around social services that we see now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, you've been on the front lines for a couple of decades, longer than some, and you keep driving towards these solutions. I know that about you, and I've heard you and talked with you before about it. But it seems to me that you are trusted as an organization. I know the city has trusted you. We do as a food bank. But what is the future then of the Unity Project? It seems to me that you're trying to drive towards something not just for homeless individuals, but also for you as an organization. I think to try to have more amenities or whatever it is, however we term it. How do you see your future? For us as a food bank, for instance, the pandemic has got us to transform how we are operating as a food bank. Now that we always wanted to do that, but we didn't have the resources. Now that we have, because the public and the businesses have been so generous. So now we're able to move in those directions. Can you talk to me a bit about where you think Unity Project's future is and how you want to get there?
Yeah. I think that we're right in the middle of a transition time for ourselves. And so don't hold me, anyone, to all the exact things I'm saying right now, because we don't have it all mapped out yet, but we got some good ideas, Yeah. And so I'll start with, in our last strategic plan, which ended in 2019, we identified we needed a new facility at that time. Our facility was just, too small. I mean, it's impressive how many people we were able to accommodate in there and in the manner in which we did for so long. But the pandemic certainly has escalated that need, to actually have a facility that can take us through something like a pandemic, that can actually have adequate enough space for people to be healthy in those kinds of times. But further, we have had, I think, the only great privilege of having to be dislocated and moved to a facility that's not ours and work out of the context of a hotel is we've had some very good lessons around what it looks like to reduce barriers to service by providing things like private rooms, by providing accommodations to people who have pets, to people who are in couples, to be able to strategize around harm reduction strategies with respect to drug use, instead of asking people to leave if they are using drugs. And that is, all about good facility design. And I think for far too long, especially shelter services, have dealt with inadequate facilities. And I'm done with that. Yeah. Our future is to actually have a facility that will reduce those barriers to access, that will support people with dignity and respect, and be a reliable space in which, we can actually do this work. Yeah. And that is our future for certain.
Yeah, I can see that. And I can see that in the folks that help out at Unity Project. I think that's great, but I don't think that's just new. I think it's something that you've been looking for a time. And I think it's really important. Can I ask you a couple of personal questions?
Sure can.
One is how are you? No, people ask me that, not in an interview, but as a food bank co-director along with Jane, like how have we survived the pandemic and stuff? And I'm not really fully sure I know how to answer that yet. But what about you? You're the executive director. How has it been for you the last couple of years?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, there is something to be said about that, because in our industry, there's always worry about like burnout or people I'm not burnt out. I'm exhausted. I'm actually, and like many of us, we're just, the pandemic weighs heavy of like, what's next? Is there going to be, a period of time where this seems to kind of relax? But I think that when you're working in the context of homelessness or social injustice, those things are already exhausting issues to contend with in the first place. And they add a pandemic on top of that, displacement, et cetera. It's really hard, I think that thankfully, the moral exhaustion I was experiencing in the first year of the pandemic, the context of being a leader of organization and saying, oh, I have staff who are working in this potentially very risky scenario. I hope I've done enough to provide safety protocols and equipment and the tools that they need to do their jobs well and feel safe, and be safe. And same with the participants we serve. So that moral exhaustion has faded, which is nice because that was very, very difficult. But it's just tiring. We're tired, right? And we'll keep doing it, we'll keep going on, but it's been tough. Mm-hmm.
I agree. My final question is one I've always kind of wanted to ask you is you began as a protester and you've morphed into a manager, community spokesperson kind of thing. I've gone through a similar thing, like the food bank kind of happened overnight and then it became this other thing, but you have to develop nuances. You have to develop understanding of languages and other persuasions. It's not necessarily an easy thing, but you do morph, you do transform, and you're able to communicate better in different situations. That's what I've learned about myself anyway. But how has that journey been for you? For me, I think I was impatient to begin with. Then I was just so busy organizing that I was moving on. And now I've become kind of impatient again. I've kind of reverted back to this thing. How can we let this happen in a country that's so wealthy? I'm wondering what that journey has been like for you personally, protester to manager. I presume that from what I know of you, you have retained that protest part of you much better than I did for a number of years. But how do you deal with that? And was it an easy transition to be able to speak different kind of languages to different audiences when really what you want to say is, let's just get this done, right?
Yeah, well, I think one of the interesting things about my role and perhaps, being surrounded by and supported by the board that I've had over the years is I've never been censored. I do think about that sometimes because I think about what a privilege to have been able to learn this role, and to have so many good mentors around me who are patient enough through my mistakes, who, staff who, I had to learn how to be a manager with people. I had to learn HR and finance and all those pieces and just the patience of folks around me to be with me through those lessons and to trust that I would get there. Right. And that's kind of the one thing I really like to try to pass on to staff of the organization is to say, I've had all these opportunities to make mistakes, learn from them, move forward, develop my skills. And that's really informed who I've become as like a supervisor or manager, is to also offer that to them. And I think that is really important when you look at your own role as a leader to say, what privileges have I had along the way? And how can I ensure that I pass those privileges along to people who I'm working with?
That's very eloquent. I agree. I think you've gone from being an activist younger woman, right, to doing something that's very important. And you've migrated into being a seasoned voice in London and also with managing your team and others. But you never shed that thing of protest in you, that kind of youth part of you that really got you involved in the first place. That hasn't been tamped down to the degree where you've just become a manager. You, and I know this from you. You just are able to continue to drive that forward. And I'm so thankful that the board hasn't censored you in that way, because it is, to see a young person doing that, we all need that. We all got started there, but to see somebody who's been at it for 20 years and is a community leader still able to reduce it to that level so we can talk about what we're doing here. I think it's a wonderful thing, Chuck. And you're more seasoned, I presume, as I am, as the years go along. The passion is still there in you. And I just really want to commend you for that. And also for Unity Project, that you can be consensus driven, that you can support you the way that they have. And you're still looking for a vision in the future that Londoners can invest in that will provide better than what's being provided now. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. Those are lovely words. I really appreciate that.
They're true. I didn't think of them all in advance. We really appreciate what Unity Project has done and what you have done. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Due to the length of the preceding program, we now join the regularly scheduled program already in progress.
That chicken had a hell of a night, huh? Hopefully they tape that right on TikTok, right? That sausage meat. Question number 5, what is the term for the style of cocktail that is made with a whole raw egg and was popular between the 17th and 19th century? It is often heated with a red-hot iron. What cocktail is that? That sounds like a pre-hangover cocktail. And it was popular for 200 years? Right, time for round 2. Round 2 of the category is official birds. Official birds. Eat birds that lay eggs. You see what we went there? Easter. It's all coming together. All right. Oh, we start with a fun fact here. It says, fun fact, Canada does not have an official national bird. Unofficially, it's the Canada jay. This is very controversial, apparently. I'm really shocked that Canada doesn't have a national bird. Yeah, because whenever I watch TV, I see many Canadians flipping Justin Trudeau some bird suggestions, and nothing, huh? Question number 6. What island nation's national bird is the kiwi? It's also a nickname for the people of that country. I did not know this. Question number 7. Alberta, Manitoba, and Quebec's official birds are all what type of raptor? This is why we can't get along as a country. We picked that bird first. We said dibs. We said lick it, stick it, stamp it. No erases. Question number 8. What type of bird is the most frequently named state bird in the United States? Oddly enough, it is not the state bird of Missouri, where a Major League Baseball team is named after it. They have several states with the same bird, named state bird. There's a lot of birds. You could say something else. I don't know. It just seems stupid. That's all. Question number 9. The Atlantic puffin is the official bird of what Canadian province? The largest puffin colony in North America can be found at the Witless Bay Ecological Reserve. That's why all those puffins are there at the reserve, because they had reservations. Question number 10. What is the national bird of India? It is an important symbol on the American network television as well. Oh, fun fact, folks. Big announcement, folks. Big announcement. I'm trying to keep this a secret, but I think it's getting out there, folks. Thanks to you and all your support on this show, I'm pleased to announce that I've just signed a major deal with Disney Plus. Major deal. It's a 1-year development contract where I get to watch all the shows I want for $23 a month. So, right, time for round 1. Round 1 answers the category was egg hunt. Egg hunt. First question was, what British confectionery company manufactures the cream egg? That's Cadbury. Easter cream egg. Sorry. Question number 2. What is the name of an egg Benedict style dish in which ham is swapped for spinach? That's called eggs Florentine. That's a good trade. Oh, folks, speaking of which, this Easter, I'm so excited. I got a 80-inch flat screen TV for my wife. Yeah. And that was also a very good trade. That one's for the married guys who can't laugh because their wife's in the room. I'm laughing for you. Question number 3. What is the name of the jeweled Easter egg that were created for Tsar Alexander III and Nicholas II? That's a Fabergé egg. Fabergé, those is full of diamonds and rubies and stuff like that. Yeah. Question number 4. What is the name for a boiled egg wrapped in sausage meat, coated in breadcrumbs, and fried? That's a Scotch egg. Question number 5, the impossible question. What is the term for a style of cocktail that is made with a whole raw egg and is often heated with a red hot iron? That's called a flip. Question number 6. What island nation's bird is the kiwi and is also the nickname for the people of that country? That's New Zealand. Question number 7. Alberta, Manitoba, and Quebec all have the same bird from the raptor family. Does anyone know what it is? An owl. They all have the owl. Oh, which fun fact here says a group of owls is called a parliament. And a group of crows is called a murder of crows. A murder of crows. Actually, they should call a group of owls a gang of owls. That way they can have drive-by hootings. Question number 8. What type of bird is most frequently named state bird in the United States? You know what that is? That's the northern cardinal. That's northern. Can we accept cardinal? No, we cannot. Sorry, because they're different than the southern cardinal. They don't get along. Like those northern cardinals they're snobby. Like, oh, we don't like the southern cardinals. Oh, with their backward ways and they're dirty birds anyway. You kiss a southern cardinal, you could get chirpies, which is bad because there's no treatment because it's a cardinal disease. Question number 9. The Atlantic puffin is the official bird of what Canadian province? That's Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador. And question number 10. What is the national bird of India? It's the Indian peafowl. I will also accept peacock. I guess there's like the same thing. I don't know why they call it a peafowl. I'm afraid to ask. Good thing they can't fly. All right, folks, we'll be back with more RTV quiz show after this. Don't go away.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Jeff from Chillin' and Grillin' with Jeff. We're back for season 3. We've had the opportunity to see some great backyards and have some great barbecue. Join us, Chillin' and Grillin' with Jeff.
I am Justin Newell. I am an EVS operator, which is something that travels all over. So today I am based in Winnipeg.
And over top of the blocker.
I used Rogers and my volunteering time there as a means of gaining experience. I found while I was there that I also gained some great friends and also some business connections to be able to further my career. Rogers was fun because I was able to do a variety of different positions technically. I've always tried to be a technician in many different sorts. So from being an audio mixer to a switcher, a replay professional, to a camera person. It gave me a safe place and an encouraging place to be able to try different things, to be able to just, as Miss Bristol says, get messy.
The Canadian film and TV industry recognizes it's time to build a better workforce, which includes more opportunities for Black, Indigenous, and persons of color. HireBIPOC.com is here to help make this happen. Whether you're already in the business, trying to get a start, or in a position to hire, HireBIPOC.com could connect you to the right people. From script to development, production to post, distribution to marketing. Check out HireBIPOC.com now and help build a stronger industry together.
Hey, welcome back to the RTV Quiz Show, the hottest show on television, thanks to you and your feedback and your emails and your Insta tweets and your Insta scams and the face lock and whatever else you guys are doing. Keep up doing the good work, all right? Because I don't do this for the RTV Quiz Show money. I do this for the RTV Quiz Show love. All right. Time for round 3 of our Easter edition. The category is musical terms, because everyone loves a good Easter song. Like, who wrote this? My back just hurt trying to make that stretch between musical terms and Easter, but thanks. Thank you very much. All right, question number 11. What is the 5-letter term for the overall speed of a piece of music? 5-letter term. I'm going to warn you right now, folks, I don't have a lot of jokes for this category because even though I play 3 instruments extremely well. That's the record player, the tape deck, and the CD changer. That's my... Play almost anything. I mean, if you got it, I can play it. So, question number 12. What M term refers to a piece of music composed from parts and other existing pieces, usually played one after another? Well, I got this theory, like, you know, those little dots with the sticks on them on a piece of paper. I think they're making that up. I think there's like a club that people meet once a year and say, let's mess with people's heads and tell them this is what music looks like. Because I can't figure it out. Question number 13. What four-letter term is indicated by this symbol? See, this is what I'm talking about. Eh? It looks like the lowercase b, they got rear-ended by a capital H and some kind of letter traffic jam. Like, it's just... Question 14. Okay, folks, listen up. This is an audio clue. Audio clue. What is the term for this style of playing in which a note is rapidly repeated? And play it. Is it A, tremolo, B, timbre, C, crescendo, or D, glissando, or E, annoying? Because it was a bit annoying. They're just now you know they're making this up, eh? There's a word for that. There's a word for the word for that is the record is skipping, is what the word. Question 15. What is the highest of the standard 4 vocal ranges? 2-1. Actually, I know this one because this is the octave that my wife sings in. Fun fact, folks, when my wife sings in the house, I always leave and go to the porch. Not just because I don't want to hear her, it's because I want to make sure that no one calls the police because they think I'm killing her in there. Sounds the same. All right, folks, it's time for round 4. Round 4 in the Easter edition. The category is hydrology. Hydrology, which, of course, is the study of trying to figure out your hydro bill. Honey, why is the bill so high? What? Oh, yeah, no, it's all good. It says here we got a rebate. So that's good. No, actually, folks, hydrology is the study of water. Because nothing says Easter more than a glass of water. Or Easter. Question 16. What celestial body has the greatest influence on the Earth's tides? That's easy. Just a lovely and talented Paris Hilton. Question 17. In the Earth's water cycle, what process comes after evaporation and is responsible for the formation of clouds? The Earth's water cycle. That's like the American beer cycle. You drink the beer, and then Question 18. Which of the following is a long, narrow inlet with steep sides that was shaped by a glacier? Is that A, a sound, B, a fjord, C, a gulf, or D, a cove? I hope it's not fjord, because I can't pronounce that, and there's just a random J for no reason. It's like somebody who invented that word was trying to cheat at Scrabble. That's what that fjord. So I hope it's not that. Question number 19. What is the 7-letter term for an underground body of rock or sediment that holds groundwater? 7 letters. Underground body of rock that holds groundwater. You realize right now there's 200 stupid people going, I know this. I know this. Question 20. What is the name of the world's largest hydroelectric dam? It spans the Yangtze River in China. I'll give you a hint. It was made in China. That's it. Right, time for round 3. Round 3 answers. The category was musical terms. Musical terms. All right. Question 11. What is the 5-letter term for the overall speed of a piece of music? That's called a tempo. Question number 12. What M term refers to a piece of music composed from parts of other existing pieces, usually played one after the other one? The answer is a medley. A medley. This topic really makes me regret not joining the high school band, I got no talent, but I figured I could have played something like the flute because it's easy to carry and basically nobody can hear you. So you can basically suck. I don't know. Get the tuba, boom, 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 we got the drum. Ba, 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 ba. Question 13. What four-letter term is indicated by this symbol? That's a flat. Flat. I don't know. Looks like a B cup to me. Question 13. What is the term for this style of playing in which a note is rapidly repeated? Roll it. That term for that style of music is called lazy. Lazy. No, it's tremolo. Tremolo. Question 15. What is the highest of the standard 4 vocal ranges? That's soprano. That's soprano. My vocal coach told me I should be a tenor. Or 10 or 12 feet away from a microphone at all times. I think that's what she said. This is Johnson, if you're watching. How you like me now? Question 16. What celestial body has the greatest influence on the Earth's tides? That's the moon. Question 17. In the Earth's water cycle, what process comes after evaporation and is responsible for the formation of clouds? That's called condensation. Condensation. Question 18. Which of the following is a long, narrow inlet with steep sides that was shaped from a glacier? That was B, a fjord. A fjord. Question 19. What is a 7-letter term for an underground body of rock or sediment that holds groundwater? That's an aquifer. An aquifer. Question number 20. What is the name of the world's largest hydroelectric dam? It spans the Yangtze River in China. It's the Three Gorges Dam. Three Gorges Dam. Apparently it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The fourth one was ugly. Speaking of ugly, folks, we'll be right back right after this. Don't go away. Round 5 coming up.
It was John's graduation. We were so proud. We all got together for a picnic. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and we listened. It helped us get to safety. That's why when I think of John, because now he has a real future to look forward to.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
My name's Ranger M, and I work at Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. I'm the community outreach technician, and that means I do a lot of this, chatting about all things nature and conservation with kids, adults, teachers, everyone. I love to knowledge share, and that's just what I'm going to do with you. So come on, let's go learn with Ranger M.
Hi, I'm Dan Mailer. I'm the host of London Lights, the show where we talk about notable Londoners who have made a big mark, big impact on the world of music, entertainment, sports, politics.
I'm Shannon Woolley, host of Batter Up Beachville on Rogers TV. Join myself and Doug Harris as we learn more about the first recorded baseball game in Beachville.
RTV quiz show. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is round 5. We have double point answers. Why? Because we can, folks, because we can. Here we go, round 5. The category is Keeping Up with the Joneses, very special Easter edition of our TV quiz show. All these answers are famous people whose last name is Jones. All right, here we go. Question 21. Which Welsh singer is known for the songs It's Not Unusual and What's New Pussycat? What's up, Pussycat? What's up, Pussycat? Fixing the auto-tune. Fixing an auto-tune. Question 22. Who provided the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King and Darth Vader in Star Wars? Who's that guy? I'm not a big Star Wars, a big Star Trek fan. I'm watching that again on the Netflix because I have no life. I've only watched about 4 episodes, but I think I figured it out, folks. If you get beamed down to a planet with Captain Kirk, Spock, Bones, and yourself, you're gonna die. That's me not making it up. No. Question 23. Who played Betty Draper on the AMC series Madmen? I never understood this show. Why are these guys supposed to be mad? Huh? Are you kidding me? They're at work in the middle of the afternoon. They pick up the phone, they press a button, and some good-looking woman comes and brings them a scotch. What's there to be mad about? They're smoking and talking all day long, sleeping with everybody. I don't know. Now, the women, I know why the women would be mad. That I understand. The show should be called Rightfully Ticked Off Women. That's what that show should be called. Question 24. What English musician was born David Robert Jones, but changed his name into something inspired by American frontiersmen? David Robert Jones, but you know him by a different name. That's the name his mother called him when he was upset. David Robert Jones, you come here right now. Question 25. Which Jamaican model, musician, actress appeared in the 1985 James Bond movie, A View to Kill? View to Kill, Jamaican model. I think my printer is a Jamaican model because all the time it be jamming. All right, time for round 5 answers. All right, remember, all has to do with keeping up with the Joneses. What Welsh singer was known for the songs It's Not Unusual and What's Up, Pussycat? That was Tom Jones. Tom Jones. Fun fact, Tom Jones will be touring again once COVID is over. When he was asked, is it still appropriate for women to throw their underwear at you when you're singing? He replied, well, my fan base is older now, so it depends. Question 22. Who provided the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King and Darth Vader in Star Wars? Well, that was James Earl Jones. Question 23. Who played Betty Draper in the AMC series Madmen? That was January Jones. That's your name, January. Question 24. What English musician was born David Robert Jones? Yes, that was David Bowie. Question 25. Which Jamaican model, musician, actress appeared in the 1985 James Bond movie, A View to Kill? That was Grace Jones. Grace Jones. And folks, that's all the time we have for this episode of our TV Quiz Show. Till next time, be calm, be safe, and be nice.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Mario Elia, and I'm the host of a new show here on Rogers TV that we're calling Keeping London Healthy with Dr. Mario. So tune in Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. and we'll see you then.
Join us for the Learners Healthcare Champions Virtual Awards Gala on April 21st at 7 p.m. as we reveal our 2022 Healthcare Champions Award recipients. Register now at healthcarechampions.learners.ca.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888 Taxi Guy or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
When you botched that spell to make everyone forget you're Spider-Man, we started getting some visitors.